What's up, everybody? Come on in. Come on in. We are back. I got a quick little 2-week off season, and now it is right back into the thick of things with our summer rewatch series. And I cannot do this by myself. Last year, you had the team of Matthew, Ollie, and Abraham. And this season, you have, I don't know, maybe a little biased, but maybe a little better of a team. I'm just saying it. So, you know me. My name's Randy. I am joined by longtime Survivor Now analyst, Will. Will, good to have you. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, living the dream, still working at Outback, still making less than minimum wage. So,
yeah, you got to talk to Outback about getting a Survivor endorsement. You know,
that's what I'm saying. They agreed that they said if I get on Survivor, they'll do watch parties. So, you know. That's to look forward to.
He's working on it. He's working on it right now. And we're joined by newer. So we have like the longest tenured Survivor Now analyst and the newest Survivor Now analyst. She covered season 46 with us. She is from Survivor Social. Kara is here. Kara, you're already doing double duty. You're on the summer series. You couldn't take a break from Survivor Now, could you?
I'm glad we didn't take off.
No stopping. I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
Oh, this is going to be a dynamic group, and I'm so excited to watch the entire season with you guys. And we're going to get to what season we're covering. I'm sure you know by now, but we'll still cover it. You can join in our live chat, our Ancient Voices. My brother is here. Howdy. He'll be here for like 2 minutes. Not a Survivor fan, but he does tune in to see. And then Chris chimes in. This is the first time in Survivor Now history that Will is recapping the show with a girl, a game-changing historic moment. That's crazy that you've never done a show with Tegwith.
Yeah, never. So I do try though. I'm always like, hey, you know, we almost did stock watch with Tegwith, but I think the timing did not work out. It was the week Jack left or was like busy with graduation, and I was like, hey, Tegwith, you want to do stock watch? And I think she wanted to. But yeah, no, we're making moves here. We're changing the game here.
Well, I know that's the only reason that Kara wanted to do this in the first place was to have that honor bestowed upon her.
Oh, thank you,
Absolutely.
But let's get to the series that we are covering. So if you haven't found out by now and you're just tuning in and you're like, well, that's not a newer season of Survivor. That is an older season. That is because during the off season, during the dead time, we pick one of the many Survivor seasons that are out there and we do a complete rewatch. It gives you guys a chance to keep your routine, you know, bring the family into the living room at the same time you usually would. You couldn't do that this week because it was like an hour and a half episode, but usually you could get the family into the living room at 8:00, get your popcorn, get your candy, whatever you eat during Survivor, and enjoy your regularly scheduled programming, and then tune over to YouTube or SurvivorNowPodcast.com to watch us recap the episode and break it all down. And you want to tune into the series every single week because you don't know who could come on as a guest from this season. I know we have some friends of the show. Like, I'll just throw them out there. Troy Zan's probably going to come on at some point to talk about this. Sandra's a good friend of the show. Might be able to get Sandra on here. So you never know who's going to be here. So stay tuned. Join us each week. But we decided to cover Survivor Game Changers. And we have 3 different viewing experiences here. So you have someone like me. Yes, I say that I'm a Survivor expert, and everybody knows there's still like a loophole. There's like 6 seasons that I haven't seen. Ooh, I get it. But I have seen Game Changers, but my memory is awful. So within like 2-3 years of a Survivor season airing, I tend to forget what happens. I know who wins. I know the big moments, but in terms of who aligned and how the season played out, I just forget. So for me, even though I know what happens, how it plays out, I'm kind of rewatching this for the first time almost because I just don't remember the road that got us to the finale episode. Will, on the other hand, kind of a Survivor historian, he remembers this. He's always like, well, I remember this alliance. I remember that these two aligned. And so he's viewing it from that experience. He knows what happens this season. It's just like a rerun to him. And then we have Kara, who has never seen Survivor Game Changers. Kara, can you remind the audience, and then we'll get to you, Will, about how you view this season. Can you remind us how, like, when you started watching Survivor, how much Survivor you've seen, and catch us up on your Survivor knowledge here.
So I probably started watching like probably like right before COVID because I watched Winners at War live and I watched like a lot of those from like there on, like a few of the 30 seasons like live. So and then the first season I watched ever was Kagayan. So I've seen
Goat
a I
season.
haven't seen them
Yeah.
all. So I'm excited to watch this one. I was doing some prep. I was watching Ko Wrong before because I knew there was a bunch of players from that season on this one. So I was watching that. But yeah, I'm excited. Seeing so many familiar faces on this cast is so exciting. And so many players that I haven't seen any of their seasons before. Like this is the first time I'm seeing Cirie play, which is crazy. And so yeah, I'm excited to see it.
You're in for like you said it. There's so many legends on this season that it's like, how can this be a bad season? And I'm
Mhm.
sure we'll get to like the highs and the lows. Yeah, Will, you're gonna have to hold that for when we get to those moments. But
Listen,
Will, what do you remember from this season in terms of your mind and as you watch it play back now?
so yeah, when I started the season, when I first saw it, Game Changers always kind of had a dark cloud over it. It's not necessarily like a bad season. It's just I feel like the tone is a little darker because of some of the things that happened this season. And so I kind of let that cloud my judgment going into the season. And plus, my first season of Survivor was Kagayan. I'm a big Tony Vlachos fan. And so watching Tony go out immediately was a just big stab in the heart, big punch in the gut. Uh, um, but I do, looking back, I think it's pretty cool because there are a lot of like weird names you would not expect to return on Survivor. And as much as everyone likes to, hate on someone like Debbie coming back for Game Changers or Caleb coming back, I understand why. I just think the name is misleading. If it was just called All Stars 2, if it was called anything else, another second chance season, another All Star season, I think people would like the season more. And I'm trying to be as vague as possible too, because so I can't give my full opinion without spoiling the whole season.
Yeah, we don't know how many people out there are watching for the first time either. So yeah, you gotta play both fields. We got a few. Let's see, any comments? Oh, it's just Chris and my brother basically saying hi and hi. So yeah, I mean, I was excited to go back and watch the season. I'm not gonna say who wins for the sake of if you are watching this for the first time, but I think the winner is a very good player. There were some interesting names that came back this season. I was actually excited to see Caleb, due to the fact that we didn't see much of him in his first season. Obviously, he had, like, in my opinion, one of the scariest medical evacuations ever. Like, I was terrified that something, even though I'm like, something can't seriously happen to this guy because they wouldn't be showing us. But it was super terrifying. And I do remember this season being good. Maybe we should have chose Kagayan though, because that's kind of funny that the two of you guys, that was your first season. And Kagayan is my favorite season. I need to rewatch it because I just watched Micronesia Fans versus Favorites, and that has like taken over my life at the moment. But let's get right into this. This is commercial free, so there's going to be no ads on these episodes. It's a chill summer series. So we're going to begin at the beginning and kind of go all the way through here. And we've got a lot to cover. It's an hour and a half long. Well, at the time, 2 hours Survivor premiere, because you would have had commercials and stuff like that. But this is a great episode to be recapping because it's the 500th episode of Survivor, the 34th season. There's a lot of dynamics going into this one. I brought up Micronesia Fans versus Favorites. We have the Aussie and Cirie dynamic, which we'll get into here during this episode. Zeke is playing back-to-back. Is Michaela playing back-to-back as well, or no?
Yes.
Yeah, Michaela's also playing back-to-back. And there are some surprises in this cast, like Will said. Like, Debbie was kind of a surprise to be brought back. So I'll start off, before we actually get to the marooning and the game beginning. Was there a certain player? I already mentioned Caleb. I was excited at the time to see what he could do. And you guys can answer this based off your viewing experience, obviously. But is there a certain player you just cannot wait to watch play? Or like Will, in your perspective, was there a player at the time that you're like, thank God they're back on my screen?
Yeah. So I'm afraid to answer because I'm going to sound like a suck up, but I was a very big Troyzan fan. One World's my least favorite season of Survivor. I hated Survivor One World. And so I always felt bad for the people I like on One World, and I want them to return. And thankfully, most of the players I liked came back, like Kat, like Kim, and Troyzan, because I've also just liked the underdog that Troyzan was. I like the chaos he brought in One World. And so I was very excited to see him back. Same with Brad Culpepper as well. He was a big lightning rod on Blood versus Water, and I honestly think he did not deserve the hate he got on the island. And so I think those two are also like weird picks that no one would really want for a Survivor Game Changers season. I'm also a very big Malcolm fan, Tony Vlachos. I could name half the cast, but those are my big names.
Kara, what about you? Was there a player? Obviously, you mentioned Cirie. Like, you have to be excited to see Cirie play. No, you know, fellow New Yorker and like just a legend of the game. So, was there another player that you're like, okay, I'm kind of excited to see this game that everyone speaks about?
Yeah, I definitely Cirie. I like you said, Caleb. I was so excited that he had a chance to come back because seeing him medevaced was so sad. That was scary because I was excited for that he got to play like the first time, and then for him to leave so soon. I'm excited to see what he could do. And I mean, I was excited for Tony, but I'm sad that that was it.
Yeah, I mean, because you saw Winners at War. So Tony, you obviously knew a little bit about his game before, like starting this series.
Yeah, I actually didn't even realize that he was on this season when going into it. So that was a nice surprise to see that he was on the cast.
Got a few comments in here. Daryl is saying, love Caleb, love Troyzan. Cirie is cool. Mentioned Cirie, Aussie. So it kind of agreeing with Will that there's a lot of good people on this cast. My brother said he'd watch Survivor if there's a cheaper option. Paramount Plus isn't that much. It's one of the cheaper options. And then Chris, we heard that Beast Mode, Kara. So Kara, you're getting a nickname from our audience here.
Love it.
So we get to the marooning, a classic marooning, you know, kind of just grab everything you can on the boat, put it on your raft. But then there is a game-changing twist, which I kind of think this is funny that Jeff is really pushing this game-changing narrative. Like every time there's a twist, he's like, this is the season of game changers. We got a game-changing twist. Yeah, Jeff, that's every season of Survivor. Like literally. But I get what he's trying to do. And the twist is there is a huge toolkit in the water. First person to get out there, untie his buoy or whatever, gets the toolkit for his entire tribe. So it's not like a Gabon situation where it's like you can either work as a tribe or it's every person for themselves right at the start. So I found it really interesting that nobody challenged Aussie at the start of this. They let Aussie go in the water. I mean, people were already like, I mean, it's Aussie. Why would we even try? And then eventually we saw Caleb go after it and try to make it up. But like at that point, you're just wasting energy. Aussie's already halfway done. So Kara, I'll go to you first on this. You can talk about that moment, or what stood out to you about this whole marooning situation to begin the season, because a lot of times we can either begin a season really hot, or it's like, okay, this is a kind of dull way to start off.
Seeing the marooning and everything happen like this was so refreshing after seeing not seeing something like this for a while.
The new era stuff, yeah.
So I enjoyed it. I liked seeing it and them throwing things off the boat, jumping in the water. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I do think it's weird how Caleb just went after the buoy. You know, I feel like it's a decision you have to make right then and there, right? Like as soon as Jeff says go, you have to jump in the water to have a chance against Aussie, right? And even then, I understand just letting Aussie have it. It was designed for Aussie. His nickname was Dolphin Boy on half his seasons, right? And so I understand just not wanting to waste the energy and instead, you know, outnumbering the other tribe and trying to get as much materials as you can. I just don't know what Caleb was doing or what he was thinking when going into the water to try to get the toolkit. It was just weird. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Because I mean, who else on the Mana tribe could have jumped in? Now, obviously, I should have pulled it up on the internet so I can kind of see here. But who was on the Mana tribe that could have competed against Aussie? Because I'm not like everyone else and like, okay, it's Aussie. He's obviously got it. Why we shouldn't even try? I felt like there was some people that could try. Malcolm, correct me if I'm wrong, is on the Mana tribe.
Yeah,
Malcolm or Caleb. Or maybe Michaela. I don't know if I'm thinking of like Michaela now, because I know she's got some muscles now and like, you know. But I think Malcolm. But again, it's a decision you have to make right then and there. You cannot wait. You cannot. I think everyone hesitated, and that was the big problem.
If Caleb went out right from the beginning, I think he would have had a good shot at getting it.
He almost caught up to him.
So
yeah.
We almost caught up. Daryl adds in. Caleb stepped up. Respect for him, Chris. Malcolm maybe, but he wasn't as great at challenges. Yeah, I just think it's like someone's got to step up in that situation. The last thing I want to say about the marooning, I found it really funny that Ty immediately was in charge of the chickens, and we saw that throughout the episode. I was terrified. I remember being terrified back then. I was terrified this time when the chicken coop went like upside down in the water, and I was just like, "Don't let the chickens drown, please. Whatever you do, don't let these chickens drown." So yeah, it was a hectic start. Can't talk today. And then the other thing that happened is we had a secret advantage, which Cirie was able to grab. And we find out later on that is the legacy advantage. Will, this is where you're going to have to help me out because I did forget to write down what the legacy advantage is. So remind everybody who's watching exactly what she found.
Yeah, so the legacy advantage, it is basically an idol. You can only use it at the final 6 or final 13, basically at the merge or final 6. The twist is that if you get voted out with it in your pocket, you have to give it to someone else. And so it's like one big game of hot potato where there's a lot of paranoia. I actually really like this idea. I just wish idols acted like this now, or it stayed and it could have been used at any point, not just final 13, final 6. Because I like the idea of having an idol that stays there. You don't have to look for it, but you can get willed to you. I think that causes a lot of chaos. It reminds me kind of the birdcage from 44, where the whole point is just to cause chaos and to cause distrust. I like that. I just wish I hate how it was utilized in this season, you know?
Kara, would you want to find the legacy advantage? Like, obviously, you could look at it like, Randy, that's a stupid question. Like, any advantage is a good advantage in the game of Survivor. But, like, if you found this and you found out this is what you got, how difficult do you think it would be to navigate the legacy advantage, given the rules, the complexity of it? And what would your strategy be?
I feel like having it is good. I feel like it's always good to have something in your back pocket. And I don't know. I feel like I guess I don't know what other rules there are, but like I feel like I just wouldn't want to tell anyone and just keep it to myself and use it when I need to.
Yeah.
And I also kind of feel like if you're at that final 13, I feel like that would probably be an ideal place to use it.
Kara speaking the truth on Survivor. Don't tell anybody. And so far, we haven't seen Cirie tell anyone. Thank God. Like, keep it to yourself. That wasn't the only talk that we had about idols. I know everyone's been looking forward to talking about Tony. In my mind, Tony is the Survivor GOAT. And we're going to talk a lot about his experience here because we got 2 eliminations in this premiere episode. But right away, so Tony is on the Mana tribe, which is the blue tribe? No, blue's Nuku, orange tribe.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think.
And as soon as we get to the beach, everyone is, high, excited to play with you, yada, yada, yada. And Tony just instantly goes, "Hey guys, I'm looking for the idol." Woo! It's so mind-boggling. Like, he was expecting someone to follow him, but no one did. And he's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna look anyways." And I think I would have believed him at first to be like, I wasn't actually going to look for the idol. But we can kind of jump ahead a little bit. He continues to do this the entire episode. Like, Tony keeps saying how he's bored. He's ready to get the game going. He's building spy bunkers. He's, already trying to get an alliance going. So, Kara, I know you were very excited to watch Tony, but what do you think about how his game started here compared to Winners at War, Tony, which is, one of the first Survivor experiences you had?
Yeah, he was being so chaotic for really just no reason. Like, he didn't need to come out so strong and run off and search for things, but I don't know. And like the whole spy bunker thing, the whole time I was thinking how is this gonna work? Like, aren't people gonna see a giant hole? Like, it just didn't make sense to me at all. But like, it's Tony. Like, he's good TV. He's fun to watch. So it was fun. It brought some excitement to the episode. I feel like without that, what would we have had?
I'm just happy that you brought up the spy bunker and how I still to this day, I agree. How would that work? Like, he dug out like this little hole and then he just lays in it and he's like, oh, I'm feeling good. Like, this is my spy bunker. Like, someone's not going to see him. Like, I imagine walking by and I just imagine tripping over his damn hole and then looking down to see him be like, oh, how'd I get down here? My bad. And I'm like, what are you doing, bro? The risk and reward is all messed up. Will, we were talking the other day about like going back and rewatching the season after our like Survivor Australia coverage or whatever. And you were saying now this season kind of got off to a rough footing based off who goes out. And obviously we know what happens to Tony here. He wasn't the first, but he was really shooting himself in the foot at the beginning of this entire game. Like, this is so important for his season of Winners at War. Like, I don't know. I keep saying that. That's why I think Tony's the GOAT. Yes, he had a great season when he won Cagayan. Awesome. Comes back, little too cocky, he wants to go right away. He just wants to play Survivor. He doesn't want to do this get to know. And it humbled him. And then he came back at Winners at War and he was like, okay, I messed up. And then won again. I think this season did make Tony, and I know we're getting a little far ahead. It'll save us some time at the end. But like, what did you think about Tony in this first episode? Because the dude was a wild man.
So I hate the theory where it's like Tony knew about Winners at War, and so he did this game just to lower his threat level. Because that was a theory for a while when Winners at War aired. It was like, oh, this was all planned from Tony Vlachos. He's the GOAT. I do think Tony has a gift where he doesn't take the game too seriously. He changed that in Winners at War, but if you go back to Cagayan, he was able to skate by early enough, and then later on, he was just having fun. That's why he was making his spy shacks, bluffing by idols. To him, the game itself was very fun. He didn't take himself seriously. And so instead of trying to, recuperate here, Tony just had fun. We could speculate why he did that. Either way, it led to, I think, one of the biggest premiere flameouts and just one of the biggest edits in the premiere where this whole episode was about Tony. Kind of like how Banu,
I was literally thinking
the early game of 46. And that's why I like Tony as a first or second boot here, premiere boot, because it just works out for his narrative, works out for his story. And we get just a nice bite of Tony Vlachos here. Not a meal, just a good bite.
I absolutely love that read. You say not a meal. We got a lot. We got a full Tony meal this episode.
Now,
I would say
a season is a feast. We got a bite with Tony. A juicy bite.
That's great. We got a lot of comments here. Abraham is in the chat. The new look, Randy. Someone was going to say it. I don't know what you're talking about. I look the exact same.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Got the 3 luscious locks going.
It was just time. I like the Schitt's Creek shirt, Randy. Yes, gotta rep it. One of the best shows. If you haven't watched it, do that. Sorry, I'm trying. We have so many people commenting, so I'm trying to look through. We got Kyler. Welcome to the show, Kyler. I don't know if we've seen you here before. His Winners at War threat management was top tier, and I see a lot of Queen stays Queen comments in the chat. So we will get to that later. All right. The other talking point that we really saw was on the Nuku tribe. We saw Aussie versus Cirie. And I want to get your guys' reactions to this. I obviously, it's very fresh in my memory because I just watched Micronesia for the first time, and this was a huge deal then. We'll start with you.
Hi.
I mean, Cirie said it at one point in confessional. She's like, what was that, 8 years ago? Dude, get over it. And Aussie's immediately saying he cannot trust Cirie. Like, he doesn't think he can. And obviously, due to the circumstances that happened during Micronesia. And even though Cirie is saying, like, dude, you got to get over it, I don't see Cirie getting over it because all she's doing is talking about how she knows Aussie's coming after her. She knows she's the main target. And we start to see that develop on the Nuku tribe, how a lot of people, Cirie's kind of jumping around trying to make alliances. And a lot of people are like, yep, I would love it. And then we see in confessionals, they're like, yes, I would love to play with a legend like Cirie, but is that what's best for my game? No. And it almost looks like Cirie, and lucky for her, Nuku doesn't go to the first 2 tribal councils, but it almost looks like Cirie is like the unanimous first target if they were to lose. So what did you think about the Nuku tribe dynamics in this premiere episode?
I think it's interesting because if you go back to a lot of Cirie seasons, Kara, I don't want to spoil too much because I know this is the first time you've seen Cirie play. But if you go to Survivor Panama, Cirie did not start off well there either. It's been a while since I saw the pre-merge of Micronesia because I think the post-merge kind of saves that season. But like HVV, Cirie also did not do that well. And so it's interesting to see how Cirie constantly always starts on the wrong foot and how she's able to recover because people are saying they openly do not trust Cirie. And so it's interesting to see how far Cirie could go hypothetically when she's starting off every season on the wrong foot. And I can't really blame Aussie or Cirie for thinking about Micronesia, not because Aussie still has like, you know, an emotional attachment to Amanda. I doubt that's still a thing, but it's like, this is their first time playing in years. Aussie's last season was South Pacific. Cirie's last season was HVV. And so it's like, they have nothing to really go off of. And they're, you know, reliving their past seasons, the start. And there's a lot of baggage people bring into returnee seasons, and this is just part of it. And I like how Survivor is embracing it, kind of like the Poker Alliance in Winners at War. You know, it's not trying to hide it under the radar like a lot of pre-game connections happen, you know.
Whose side are you on, Kara, in this situation, watching the Aussie versus Cirie thing play out? Do you think they're both overreacting? Do you think like this is too early in the game to dwell on the past? What was your take on kind of like the only thing that we really saw from Nuku? This was a very mana heavy premiere episode, and kind of the only dynamics that we saw from the Nuku tribe was this little rivalry of like who's going to make the first move on the other person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I guess, know exactly what happened, but it sounds like it wasn't good for Aussie. But I feel like it's a valid thing to bring into this if you have nothing else to go off of with anyone else, that you're not going to want to work with someone who voted you out. I mean, yeah, it was a long time ago, but also, you know how this person plays. Like, from what I know about Cirie and like things that she's done and her seasons or whatever, like she is a scary player. She is someone who could be a big threat, can pull off big moves and things like that. So I feel like it's valid for Aussie to not want to work with her, for him to maybe want to get her out. And it does seem like Cirie is scrambling. It doesn't seem like people are too thrilled to work with her, but I feel like it would be good to be on Cirie's good side and have that with you, because if she's with you, it's better than her being against you.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm Team Oz. I guess I'm on Aussie's side because I feel like if I don't know.
Maybe Team Aussie. I mean,
bad take.
No, I don't think it's a bad take. No, I thought that was a really, really well spoken take. And the other thing is that I wanted to add was, what's the old saying in Survivor? It's like day one, you're looking for the smallest thing to get the target off you. So like, Kara, you said that you're not surprised that like they kind of dwell on the past and that, you know, he doesn't trust her based off what you know, obviously going into this season. And you're not wrong about that, because like day one, you're literally looking for anything to put the target on somebody else. And if that is what Aussie's going to do about like, look, I've played with Cirie. she got me. Like, that's not going to happen again. It does make sense. So, yeah, I agree with that completely. Let's get to some of these comments here before getting to the first immunity challenge. Andrew Coach says, Aussie, getting over things? Nah, I did a great podcast with Andrew over on the Nullified Take. He is watching 46 seasons in 46 days. And I just reviewed Micronesia with him. Yeah, tonight they're covering Tocantins. So what he's like pulling all-nighters and stuff. So it's a great series over there on the Nullified Take. Also adds in, if I'm Cirie, my last memory of Aussie was his overreaction with everything, I'd be a tad spooked by him too. Yeah, I mean, very, very well said. All right, we get to the first immunity challenge, kind of the run-of-the-mill obstacle course. There's a puzzle at the end. This one's got to be a wheel that you put together. It actually came down to being really close. A few stuff here I want to get your guys' opinion on. I guess it's like a spark or snuff. The immunity idol, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like it too.
I'm like, why art department? Why can't we get stuff like that anymore? It's like a diving helmet.
Mm-hmm.
So simple, but like I respect.
Unique. It's unique.
Yeah.
It reminds me of those quizzes CBS put out where it's like you had to identify the season with the idol. And I remember the diving helmet was always game changers. It's a weird. I don't know why. Y'all know why they did that?
Well,
It's so unique.
Yeah, it's so unique, and I was going to say that like something like that's memorable. I guess it's not too memorable because I didn't remember, but now I will always remember it now. And then this was very interesting. Jeff Prope says, "I have another game-changing game element for you guys," or however he says it, and he says, "If there's a tied vote this season, there will not be a revote. I'll give you a chance to discuss. And then if you can't come to an agreement, you guys are drawing rocks and the two people who tied are going to be immune." So, Kara, is this an actual big deal? Is this like wow, that changes things? We hear people saying like, now you got to rethink splitting votes and stuff. Or is it like, how much different is it than what we usually get? Yes, you're skipping the extra vote, but they still have time to discuss to get to a unanimous decision.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been cool if maybe they didn't have that time and it just immediately went right into
a rock draw.
Like the rocks. Yeah. But I don't hate it. I kind of like it. I feel like it's fun. It'll be interesting to see if it does get played out and see how it would work and how people work around it. But I don't mind it. I think it's an interesting twist.
I'm the opposite. I didn't like it. I thought it stifles, it makes the game a little more stuffy because it's like, I feel like there's a lot of power and freedom that comes with being able to tie a vote. And I think causing fear already of like, if it ties, you have to come to a decision, I think that's enough for people to not ever want to tie the votes. And so, I feel like the only time we'd see it is if it's a do or die scenario. And just with an All-Stars season where everyone is very worried about making it, further and winning, getting redemption or whatever, I think people are going to play more safe, especially early on. And it's hard for people to kind of break off of playing safe. That's something we'll get to later as well.
Well, do you think that there's a way where they could play it to their advantage where they're like, we're going to tie it between us. We're not going to let them decide and then have everyone else go to rocks. Well, we'll be safe.
Yo, that would be a game. So what you're saying here is like, us three are on a tribe and like you and myself are working together and we're trying to get Will out, but no one's really budging. So we tried to I try to get 3 votes on you. You try to get 3 votes on me. And then it's like ends in a tie. Neither of us budge. And then you and I are safe. And then Will is up. Yo, this is.
Okay. Yeah, but like think about it like
That's
this.
brilliant.
How
I can't. I'm sorry. I'm literally
It's probably not realistic, but like, could you imagine?
That is such.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That is a brilliant move, and I would have never thought about that in a million.
Okay, that's in the same line of thinking throughout the entirety of Survivor 46, where I'm like, yeah, guys, Ben's gonna wake up, he's gonna vote out Kenzie, he's going to sweep the jury, guys. Or 44, where every episode of Stockwatch, I kept calling Bruce a losing finalist. I think that is a brilliant move. However, it is so exploitable. It is so easy for everyone to see what you're doing, because if I'm in that boat, yes. Okay, because then who am I voting for in that scenario?
Like, it depends on who you feel closer to, because it's almost like if Kara and I are on the bottom, and I don't know, there's who knows how many people left in the game, and we're on the bottom and we're working together, and there's literally no route. Like, all we have to do is one of us has to say we have an idol, and they're going to be like, oh, we better split the vote. And then Kara's going to be like, well, I want to stay. I'll vote Randy if I have to. And I'm going to be like, oh, I'll vote Kara if I have to. And all we have to do, is it risky? Yes. And the funny thing is, this is going to be the video I use for Instagram, because my jaw went on the floor. It's so perfect. And they're going to be like, what does this have to do with Game Changers? So sorry about everyone, but Carrie, you're going to have your moment to shine, because that was such an amazing idea.
Okay. So yeah.
Well, what I'm saying though, is it risky? Yes, because all it takes is one person to get confused or one person to vote the other way. And Kara and I have shot each other in the foot, and one of us is going to get screwed out of the game. But like, at the same time, one of us was going to go anyways. So it's like a really smart move to try to save both of us. And like, I'm in love with this move.
I think it would be move. I feel like if you were on the bottom though, if you were truly on the bottom, like it is final like 10 and y'all are on the bottom and it's you two vote each other, it can still be like Randy gets 5 votes, Kara gets 4 votes, and then whoever gets like 2 votes, right? Like it could still happen like that.
Oh, it's definitely risky.
It has to tie, and that's the problem. It's not just like y'all get the majority of the votes. It has to be a blank 5-5, right? In order for that to happen. And I think people are smart enough to not let that happen, because you only have 2 votes.
Or it could, I mean, I guess depending on how many people are on the tribe, but tying it between 3 people.
How?
And at that point,
tied between 3 people? Has there ever been a 3-3-3 in Survivor?
There will be when Kara gets out there and they do this thing. but I will say that, like, just to kind of wrap this topic up, like at that point,
I want to disagree so badly, but it's like it's one of those things.
At that point, if it did work out that way and we got our tie, it's in our hands, because Jeff says it has to be unanimous. You have a few minutes to get to a unanimous decision. And at that point, Kara and I would just look at each other and be like, nope, I'm not switching. I'm voting Kara.
You wouldn't vote. You wouldn't vote.
Well, they don't
care. Kara votes you, then you don't vote. You don't get a say.
No, we're saying if this twist is the thing where there is no revote. So the votes tied between myself and Kara.
You still wouldn't get a say though, because obviously you're not.
Oh yeah, because we're the 2 people up.
Yeah, you're the 2 people. Yeah. So you're not.
Damn, Will found a way to disagree.
I found that.
Way to ruin the fun, Will. Give us
my bad, guys. I think it's so fun to threaten, but.
Yes,
you need a third. You would need a third to go against the grain. If you had a third, right, and they won immunity, and then I could see it, but it's not like a bulletproof.
That's where it would work, where the person who wins immunity doesn't agree with it, and then
agree.
Yeah.
See if I see.
But then you have to put full trust in them to disagree, and I don't know.
You'd have to play it right. They'd have to be with you on it. They'd have to be in on the plan.
No, it's definitely possible. I was going to say, see if I show Will's disagreement on Instagram. I'm going to leave that part out because this is a brilliant move. No,
my bad.
I'm kidding. Oh, we got a few comments here. Is this too early, Kara? This feels like an Expedition Online boomerang quiz. Chris, you're done. She's blocking you instantly.
Yeah. All right.
Coach adds in 3-3-3 tie in Redemption Island.
Yeah,
Russ will vote out. Yeah,
I was gonna say it happened before. I'm on the wiki right now, going through every season's vote count, trying to find it.
Yeah, leave it to Survivor. It's happened before. So we see the Mana tribe loses in a close battle, heartbreaking because Cirie loses the challenge that she lost last time, 0-2. So like, if we ever get another Ghost Island, I would love to see Cirie have to beat this challenge or whatever to get an idol. So this leaves Mana with there's a couple plans here. So obviously Tony's name is up because he's looking for an idol. People are getting paranoid. But the other topic of discussion is keeping the tribe strong, which is something we see a lot in Survivor. And Cirie is being looked at as the weakest link, which is she? Like, is she the weakest link? This was a little weird to me. And then we did get quite a bit of Michaela this episode. Does not like to lose.
Nope.
And her name was being thrown out as the fake vote. And this was not something she wanted to hear. She was fully down for the plan. Everyone was going to vote Cirie until she heard her name was the one that Cirie was putting down. And I love this reaction from Michaela. She was like, "Oh, I don't like that at all." No. And I thought we would see a bit more drama. Couple things to talk about here. Because this was, I'll go ahead and say it. Cirie was eliminated in a 9-1 vote. I'm happy this was a 2-hour episode because I think the beginning of this episode where Cirie went home, it was pretty straightforward. There was really nothing. Like, it was like Cierre's the target, Cierre's going home. I was like, yeah, that's kind of a dull first half of the episode. But there's a lot to talk on here. And one thing that stood out to me, I guess this is just bad gameplay from myself. But if I was on Survivor and someone's like, we're going 9 votes on this person, we told them to vote you. I don't get why people get so mad their name is being used. Like, I understand it's like you don't want your name being used because then if anything happens, you could get screwed out of the game if she plays an idol. I get that side of things.
Yeah.
I guess I don't understand why they get so mad because like that's like if you tell someone their name is being used as the decoy vote, they're like, nope, we got to change it. We got to change it right now. And I don't know. I'd love to hear you guys' opinion. Carrie, you kind of sat up there, so I feel like you disagree with me heavily on this.
I think everyone does, Randy. I think you're.
Oh, are you saying?
Yeah, you never want to hear your name. You never want to hear your name out there.
It's just in Survivor player does not like having their name written down, guys. Red alert.
But Michaela could have put her vote on someone else just in case there was an idol or something. I feel like that could have been good. Or she could have maybe got someone else to vote someone else too, just in case. I feel like that would have been good.
I think the logic is that if you're in an alliance, right? If you are running the tribe and you want a decoy, it's going to be someone to you because it's too risky to put someone else. So like, let's just say Sanda's at the very top and she wants to keep, Jeff Varner, right? She loves Jeff Varner. She wants to keep Jeff Varner. She's never going to say, hey, the decoy is going to be Jeff Varner in case there is an idol play or in case something happens and people want to flip, right? It's just too risky. And so Michaela is afraid that she's kind of not on the bottom, but she's on the low rank.
One of the next people to go. I get that argument too. It's like if your name's being tossed around as a decoy, you're not a main priority. It's like if something does happen.
Yeah.
Okay. I get your point. That's something terrible gameplay from me. Going to the org.
Do not let this man on Survivor, bro. CBS, man.
No, I would
instead.
just be super entertaining. I'm not saying I'd be the best player, but I'd be super entertaining. But the thing is, like, going to the org community, that's just something that I've done. And yes, people have said it's stupid, but I don't mind. I'm like, just throw my name out there, especially if we have a plan. Yeah. 9-1. This seems like a clear vote. Andrew adds in, and especially with how she went out in Millennials versus Gen X, she wasn't going to risk any type of shenanigans. Yeah. Good point. Daryl says, I would be annoyed if my vote was being used for a split vote. And then Chris adds in about Cirie, I was happy to see her go at the time because I wasn't a fan of hers. Initially liked her, but she became too much over the years. I was amazed Sandra didn't get a vote here. Yeah, the 1-2-time winner. No one is really talking about yet. Before we move on to the second part of the episode, I almost said episode 2. What did we think about Ciara's elimination here? Will, I'll start with you because you told me the other day you weren't happy to see her be the first person to go here. Did you think there was a smarter elimination to go?
No, Ciara kind of on rewatch, she kind of caused her own elimination because she was too gamey. She did not read the room properly, where it's like on a all-star season, obviously everyone's going to be playing hard, but I think she played too offensively when everyone else was trying to play defense. They were trying to build up their social connections and they're trying to build their alliances. Ciara just went guns blazing, but had no one behind her. I was sad because I think Ciara, she's not really her own player, I feel like, half the time, because everyone, when we think of Ciara Easton, we just think of her voting out her mom. A move that did not matter whatsoever, a move that is completely overrated by the Survivor community. Her voting out her mom, I think, is not really that big of a move. I mean, it sucks, but like, she was going home anyways, and she wants to stick with the majority. Like, you know, it's not, I don't know. I didn't think it was that crazy of a move.
I mean, no, I think I agree with you on that. I don't want to say it's overrated as a move. I think it just gets brought up too. Overhyped. Yeah. I think it gets brought up too much. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, if you look at some of the biggest moves in Survivor, there's so many bigger moves. It's like, say it 1 or 2 times, I get it. That was memorable. You voted out your own mom. To say it like every time she's on screen, someone says, I mean, she voted out her mom.
That's what Jeff Varner said earlier.
And it's like, we get it. We get it. She voted out her mom. Move on. Kara, what do you think of Ciara's elimination? Did you think there was a smarter decision here? Obviously, they kept Tony for challenge strength. They said that was more important at the time. So Ciara kind of gets the boot here.
Yeah, she did. I mean, being the person to throw out the names is tough because you never know how people are going to take it. And she did like come out strong with that. So yeah, I think the writing was on the wall for her, but I don't really know her. I mean, hearing her vote,
she voted out her mom.
Yeah, that's crazy.
She voted out her mom.
It's safe.
No one's safe. If you can vote your own mom out, no one's safe with you. So,
would you guys vote out your mom?
Yes, me and my mom, we already talked about it. I will lie about her. I will vote her out. We talked.
Damn.
Yeah.
I told my mom that I couldn't do it. And she's like, I'd vote you out first, Randy, in a heartbeat. And I was like, thanks, Mom. This is my lifelong dream to play. Hope I never play with you.
Randy, you're like a brother to me, and I'd vote you in a heartbeat. I'd do it even if we were allies.
Nobody trusts me, and I wouldn't. Kara, what do you think? Would you vote out your mom?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm living in a world where Kara goes out and she's just the most vicious player out there. Let's see. Kyler adds in, it only happens because she played back-to-back with returning players who already have a relationship and they hadn't seen her original season yet. I don't know if that was about Sandra or...
That's about Michaela, I think.
Oh, Michaela, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you. Daryl adds in, Ciara was picked because she threw out names first, so it was easy to point the finger out at her. Exactly. You need something to kind of start off that first vote. Chris, yeah, agreed. Will, it was a unanimous vote, not a 4-3 or something. So it came down. It was easy for everyone just to make that decision. Going into the second episode, to start on a more lighthearted note, before we get into the thick of things with the strategy of the second episode, another question for you guys, and I want to know, everybody in the comments, let us know what you would do if you're out there and you have goats running around. 1, would you try to catch a goat, which we'll get to on the next episode, it looks like. And then 2, you also have chickens. Would you be for letting the chickens live, or are you killing the chickens for food?
Do the chickens lay eggs?
I will give you 2 of them lay eggs, and then you have what do they do sometimes? They sometimes give you a rooster, right? They give you like a rooster.
I'm killing the rooster first. Roosters will keep me up. They'll wake me up at the crack of dawn.
So yeah, you get 2 that lay eggs, and then you get 1 that doesn't.
So what point does that non-laying egg chicken do for us?
If Ty is on your
morale.
tribe, if Ty is on your tribe, you are not killing a single one of those birds.
I'd kill Ty with the chicken, dog.
What? Who said that? Was that JT who said that? With JT? Because okay, this does become like a strategy thing because it started pissing people off.
Yeah.
Because they were like, JT was like doing whatever with the corn. I lost the word or whatever. You get what I'm saying. And Ty wants to give some of the corn to the chickens, and you see how much corn is like laying on the ground. And we see Sarah like smack the chickens off and say, get away from our food. We feed you enough. JT mentions we're going to have to kill Ty to kill the chickens, and how Ty needs to figure out whether he wants $1 million or if he wants to get married to the chickens out on the island. So like this does affect like Ty's perception when people are like, okay, dude, we get it. You like animals. JT's like, I like animals, but like this is a survival thing, and we're giving half our rations to the chickens. So, Will, I'll go back to you before going to Kara. Like, how would you view this situation if you have Ty on your tribe? You're one of the people out there. Would this be frustrating to you?
I mean, it depends. I mean, if I was like starving, if we were like 2 weeks in and Ty was still not giving up, I'd be annoyed. But at the same time, too, it's very early on, and Ty is right now getting pegged as kind of an outcast because he's not, letting go of the chickens. I would try to utilize that. I would try to be like, hey, Ty, I understand. I love chickens. I love animals. And so it's like I would try to side with Ty at first, and then try to compromise. Like, hey, can we kill one of your chickens? Not all of them. Just eat one, and then save the rest. Because I feel like there is still alternative food sources. Like they have corn still, they probably have rice and whatever else they picked up from marooning. And so I don't get the immediate hate and the immediate want to just kill off the chickens, especially if they lay eggs.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. What about you, Kara?
Kara, what side are you on, Kara?
Yeah, I feel like first it's a great way to paint a target on Ty because anything for it to not be you. So there's that. But also it is so early. There's no point in killing them yet. Let them maybe, I don't know, bulk up, I guess. So when it becomes time, there's maybe a little more. I don't know. But also like it does seem like they have like other food, other things to eat. So I feel like it's not that crazy at the moment. So I don't think it would bother me as much. Besides maybe painting a target on him and pushing that narrative.
What did Debbie say? I think Debbie was like, eventually like those chickens are gonna start looking like drumsticks or something. I feel like that would be me. Like I'm a huge animal lover. Absolutely love animals. I could not do the killing. I promise you right now. Like if we decided to kill the chickens, I would walk. No, I would walk away. You guys do that. I can't be a part of this. Like, let me know when everything's done and it's cooked, and I'll come back. Like, I can't see any of the dead body, whatever.
Yeah,
that sounds so vicious saying it. Like,
I wouldn't even want to eat it. Then, if I witnessed it, I'd be like, I don't even want it. Like, you guys eat it.
More for me, dog.
And there's been seasons, not to get too graphic, but there's been seasons where there's like people laughing about it, and they're like, "Oh, the chicken's all like." No, if you do that, I'm voting you out next tribal council. My vote's going towards you. So I don't know. I get Ty's. I get where Ty is coming from, but at the same time, if I'm sitting there and I'm starving and I'm just seeing these chickens all day long, I'm going to be like, I'm doing it. I'm going to have to kill one of those chickens. Like I need to eat. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Kyler is saying, eat one. Let's see. Daryl says, I watched Australian Survivor and no one wants to kill the chickens. In this Survivor, they are savage. Yeah, I mean, especially nowadays, you have chicken to the new era. They're definitely going to. I know we spent half the episode talking about Kara's wonderful strategic move and chickens. And now we can talk a little bit more about Tony, the Banu of the episode. Tony wants to start this 5-person alliance with. I put it as it's a big threat alliance. And basically all these people, they want to use each other as shields. So we have Tony, Aubrey, Sandra, and then they want to pull in Malcolm and Caleb. on paper, good alliance. I like this idea. I love the idea. I think it's a great move to like play with the shield. This does not last long due to an incident in the middle of the night, however, that we saw between Tony and Sandra, where Sandra felt like she was being bossed around, kind of talked down to, kind of like in cop form. And she said, I am not going to be talked down to. Will, I mean, what was Tony in the wrong here? Was this alliance ever going to get footing? And he kind of shot himself in the foot here. Like, how did this play out in your eyes?
Nah, I think Tony played perfectly. Honestly, it was a shame Tony got voted out. I don't see any mistakes here. No, I think Tony's big mistake is that he did not show the trust with his alliance. I get, like, he made the right ideas and he had the right plans. It's just he was too paranoid and he was too frantic for the early game. I do get the point, well, like, oh, he's not going to make it far anyways. You know, he was too big of a threat. I do think there was a little bit more longevity with Tony because there is stock in being a huge shield, because the fact that we're calling Caleb Reynolds a giant threat in this alliance of 5 is very telling with the threat levels of Mana. No offense to Caleb, but, you know, all offense to Caleb. And so, and I think him just being too paranoid was his undoing. It wasn't the idea of the alliance. It's just he made everyone feel like the alliance wasn't real, you know?
Kara, what did you think? I mean, good strategy to pull in the threads here. And did you feel like Sandra, I mean, this is legendary. We have, in a lot of people's eyes, if you're not counting King George, you have the king and queen of Survivor kind of going head to head. Episode 1, it's almost like two predators are on this island together and they can't live together. It's like one has to kill the other one. I know, so vicious. But, I mean, did you understand where Sandra was coming from, basically saying, I'm not going to be talked down to by Tony?
Yeah, like, he showed, like, he didn't trust her. Like, maybe he could have approached it differently where it would have went over better with Sandra, but he just went about that whole thing the wrong way. And I think it was valid for her to be like, you know what, just end it. Like, we just cut it off here. But, like, do I think that was the right move to get Tony out? Personally, I don't think so, but and it was interesting how everyone like fell in line and just followed Sandra and was like, yeah, we'll just get Tony out.
Yeah, another easy vote right away. And that's pretty much our next talking point. I'm gonna go through the immunity challenge really fast. We get another giant animal. We just had a giant gecko back in, was that 46? Yeah, it was 46. Yeah. We had a giant gecko in episode 2. Now we have a giant snake that weighs over 400 pounds. And this is my plea to the Survivor gods. Let's stop using stuff that heavy, because everybody knows I hate the boulder challenges. And now we have a snake that's over. I got terrified, even though I know nothing happens. But Varner was in the water when they kind of threw that tail over. Could you imagine if that tail came right down on Varner in the water? Who knows how heavy tail? Like, what, Will? What? This is super dangerous.
What, Randy? Same guy, Survivor Australia. Yeah, these challenges are tough.
They aren't United. They aren't Aussie 900-pound
bunch of wusses, man. They don't have challenges. They just do puzzles. And then the second they get physical, you sit there. Wow, we need to stop. Let's just do jigsaw puzzles and slide puzzles.
The biggest Survivor hypocrite right here.
Yeah, there. I'm calling you out, Randy.
Saying, I don't think we should be tossing around 400-pound items with people who haven't ate in 3 days.
I'm just saying, if you're going to die, I'd die on national TV on Survivor. That's just me. No. Don't forget, I mean,
such a gruesome podcast we're doing today, talking about chickens dying and kings killing queens. Sorry, the other way. Yeah. It's a lot of killing this episode. We're going to get blocked by YouTube because it's going to be like they just talked about killing for 2 hours.
No, I mean, at the same time, too, I have faith that the challenges were tested. I feel like they understand the risks, right? But it's also kind of like the opening challenge in Survivor 1 World, where it's like you have to follow the directions. And as long as you do that, you'll be fine. It's just when people try to deviate or try to hack the challenge, that's when they get hurt. But honestly, I feel like a lot of the most gruesome parts about Survivor isn't the physical challenges itself, it's the exhaustion or, the temperature, and not necessarily like the challenge itself, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, this challenge was a blowout until it wasn't. I mean, it looked like this wasn't going to be close whatsoever. Kara, did you have a feeling that they were going to come back? Like Malcolm was going to break? He tied it. It was tied.
He really almost won it there. I was hoping he did. That would have been awesome to see that major comeback in the end, but he really did get close. So that was awesome to see.
We would have had more Tony, and I don't know if you guys have figured out by now, but I think we're a little biased towards Tony. So, yeah, it was excuse me, sad not to see. We did get a funny moment here with Michaela is like irate. I'm really loving Michaela this season. That's something I did take away from this episode is obviously everybody's talking about season 50, and at the end of the season, I'm sure myself, Will, and Kara will talk about like who from this season could come back for season 50 maybe. Michaela Bradshaw is not someone I usually think about like my favorite Survivor players of all time or people I enjoy watching. And like I forgot to say this earlier, but going into the episode, she was someone that I was excited to see again because like I said, we've talked about my terrible memory. Like I don't remember, she wasn't memorable enough for me to kind of remember her, as terrible as that is.
Wow.
I know she'll never come on the podcast now. No, I'm just, you have your players who make huge moves and become legends in the game. And I'm not saying Michaela is not amazing and really good at this game. Obviously, a lot of people love Michaela. Her name just isn't one of the first to come up when we're talking about like big time Survivor players. She can get lost in the shuffle. And unfortunately to me, she's gotten lost in the shuffle. And watching her this episode, she's really entertaining. We see her be like, you want to switch out? And they're losing, and Malcolm's like, no, just give me a few more minutes. And it's almost like she was like, what's that going to do? Like a few more minutes. Like, let's switch out now. She instantly gets pissed, goes back to camp, and she's like, I do not lose. Losing is not in my vocabulary. So Michaela is someone that I'm super excited to continue to watch this season. Kara, did you have an opinion on Michaela because you were so shocked that I said that she's not like memorable?
I feel like her boot episode, like her elimination was so memorable. That's what I remember.
See, I don't remember her elimination.
You don't?
I told you, I forget stuff.
Dude, that's like the moment in MVGX.
I don't remember anything from Millennium.
Look, I was gonna say Michaela to me is like it's like the song Teenage Dirtbag, right? Because when we think of Wheatus, when we think of early 2000s hits, we think of Teenage Dirtbag by Wheatus. But can you name me another song by Wheatus besides Teenage Dirtbag?
I don't think I could have even told you Teenage Dirtbag. I'm going to be honest.
You know Teenage Dirtbag first.
Am I officially too old?
This is song came out early 2000s. It's old for me. No.
No,
I think
past my time. Before my time.
Okay.
I'm gonna act like the 40-year-old man here. No,
for real.
Never heard of those kids.
Michaela's kind of like a one-hit wonder of a Survivor player because everyone always just points to one moment. That's her elimination. Randy, go watch it. Go look at her blindside. It's one of the
going to now. Everyone in the comments.
It's one
everyone thinks I'm insane over
best
here.
Moments of MVGX, but I think people forget like how level-headed Michaela actually. There we go. Randy gets it now.
Isn't that the one where she goes, "What?"
Yeah. And Jay's like, I did it.
This. I did it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I know that moment, but yeah. See, it came
That's
back.
the moment.
That's the moment.
Hey, Picasso.
I think people forget like how level-headed Michaela is. I actually think she got a really unfair shake this episode. I think people
she was kind of looked at as as
a hothead, but I never
that's better than what I
call her the outcast,
like an outcast pariah. But like I think just her, I think she's very expressive, and I think that mixed with her coming from an unknown season, no one knows who she is, I think was very worrying for a lot of the older players because they had no idea what she could be. But I think she got a really unfair shake. And I'm hoping, I'm being vague about this, I'm hoping she can recover.
Let's see. Chris adds in Randy would be the Michaela and Will and Kara would be the Jay in that situation.
I'm Jay all the time. I just start cheesing randomly.
I saw another comment that I wanted to show. I mean, Chris was letting me have it. What the hell, Randy? Stuff like that. Oh yeah. Also this. Yeah, you three all hate Tony. Clearly. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't reach out to him to try to get him on the show, knowing damn well that he is filming The Traitors right now. So we're gonna get more Tony if you watch The Traitor.
And with Survivor 50, we're seeing more of Tony. I'm calling it now.
Let's go ahead and talk about the elimination, and then we can talk about Survivor 50. So Michaela, once again, doesn't want a strong player to go home. The majority kind of wants to split the vote because Tony is good at finding idols. And so Tony has Malcolm and Caleb kind of backing him. It's kind of like a guys alliance. And I know that is super popular in the Survivor world, an old male alliance. And their only hope is that Aubrey is also with them. That gives them 4. They need at least one more number for majority. And I think they made the right choice. They said, let's try to get Michaela. And I think that's the best thing you could have done. Michaela obviously has made it well known she does not like losing. And they did a great job going up to her. It was Caleb. And I thought Caleb pitched really well, being like, we cannot lose again. If you want to keep the tribe strong, we got to get Sandra out of here. I think they did everything right. This is just one of those circumstances that it's a little, too late. Because even though the editors tried to make it look like we were going to get a split vote, everything was going to be close, this wasn't close. If you looked at who voted who, I mean, Tony even said like his time was just up. There's nothing else he could really do. Tony voted Aubrey alongside Sandra, and everybody else voted for Tony, which tells me if Tony's voting Aubrey, he knew going into that tribal council, it was not going his way. Because even Malcolm and Caleb voted for Tony, so you almost had to feel at that point they probably had the talk out there where the 3 guys got together and said, look, Tony, it's you tonight. There's nothing we can do. We're going to vote with the group to save face here, which is good strategy. There's no reason to vote with Tony and kind of go down with the sinking ship. They stayed with the group, which gives the group a perception of, okay, these guys are still working with us. But that's not all we got. Will, we got some parting words. This is kind of heated. This is something we don't see anymore. They started barking immediately. I mean, you guys can help me out. I didn't write down exactly what they said, but Tony was like, sheeps to... no, I started. Sorry, hold on. I saved this comment. Oh, this was one of them. Bye, Tony. Say hi to Cirie for me on his way out. And then Tony was like, wow, way to be sheep being led to slaughter. Something about Sandra dominating the game. Like, they were chirping back and forth. Like, this was not you got me. There was a little pettiness here.
That's what we want in Survivor, man. I'm tired of, like, it's weird because I feel like returning seasons are always a lot darker, right? Because there's a lot of friendships being tested, when you're screwing your best friend over $1 million, right? And so it's very rare for there to be pettiness like this, but also for it to not feel personal. And so when we get this, we have to embrace it. It's not like Rob voting out Lex and All Stars,
I do know that moment, yes.
You do know that moment. Kara, do you know that moment? No. That's fair. It comes from an early season. But yeah, no. I'm all for drama. It just sucks that Tony was kind of on the losing end. But I also think Sandra as like a narrator and character, she's always been the best, right? In every season. But like she somehow still has it, however many years later, like 7 years past HVV and like however many years past Pro Islands. So
I mean, before I get your opinion, we have the quotes here from Daryl.
Daryl, yeah.
he got us. That's what you get, and the queen stays queen. You guys are suckers if you allow that to happen. And then also adds in, Sandra, that's what you get. Take your ass home. So, Kara, what did you think watching this play out? Was it awkward, or was it like, yes, this is the fire that we want when someone gets kicked out of the game.
Yeah, I want to see that. I think that's so fun to see. And also, like, yeah, like maybe Tony was mad, maybe they were mad, but also like I feel like it was also kind of like
joking.
Yeah, like it wasn't like serious.
It's
so that was also like nice. Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah,
that's what you get for plotting against me. Iconic.
Like, I feel like I don't understand why they wouldn't take out Sandra here.
Because Sandra's a good meat shield. That's why.
Well, I mean, she also has been pitching this episode the whole. I mean, she was asked. Jeff asked her, like, are you nervous being a 2-time winner or whatever? Like, you could be an easy first vote out. And Sandra, I mean, very clever. She was very clever in this situation. Say what you want about Sandra. I love Sandra as, like, she is a good friend of mine now. I do think what.
I'm just saying.
Like weird flex, all right? No, I was saying that to save face before I say what I'm gonna say.
You know who my friends are? Not Survivor winners.
She's a legend. She's a legend of the game. Obviously, first ever 2-time winner, but it has kind of been rough for her ever since that 2-time. She's never made it past a certain day. I'll just put it like that. And say what you want about her, how maybe she's not as good as some people think she is, but this was a very, very clever play by her to kind of throw it back at Jeff and be like, yeah, I am a 2-time winner. Yeah, I would be an easy first vote out. But I also think I'm the person to take to the end, because if you take me to the end, no one is going to vote to give me another $1 million. So
yeah,
I'm right here. That was such a genius move.
Or they'll be impressed that she made it there again,
which is what I think would happen. Yeah,
so they'll just give it to her again.
But I think too, like, Sandra is very well known for not being a good challenge threat, and so I think people get stuck in this rut where they're like, why are we taking out Sandra? She's such an easy person to beat later down the line. She's not very. It's not that she's not sociable. It's just her social game is always like anyone but me. She's not really in charge or dictates a lot of the votes. She's just able to navigate. That is Sandra's best ability, is to navigate through the game. And then it's like, why take out Sandra? She's not a big threat as long as we keep our eye on her. But then it's like, days go by, travels go by, and Sandra's like squeaking by it. And then everyone's like, wait, we are getting played. And so, I think that's kind of the big thing is like, I think if Sandra only won once and just made it far the second time, I think she would be a player that goes far every single time. It's just because she has a reputation, it will always defeat her.
And I mean, what did people say? They brought that up where they were like,
yeah.
I think Tony was the one who said, this is how Sandra plays. It's just next time we'll get her. Next time we'll get her. Next time we'll get her. And she just continues to stay throughout the game. And then the other thing that was said during this episode is, you have to get Sandra out before she gets her loyal followers, because that's when she's really dangerous. And we're starting to see her get those loyal followers, people who are willing to work with her. Because Sandra's probably one of the best players all time at leading a group, but not coming off demanding and like a dictator. Because a lot of times people who come off as a leader, they're like, we got to get them out. This person thinks they're running the game and they're not. And I've rarely seen a moment where people are like, Sandra's dominating this game. She's got to go. Like, she's very good at like making sure everyone has a say and stuff. I mean, I even think when she went to whatever, where they get their water at, the well is the word I'm looking for. She went to the well, she walked up and they were like, Tony at the time was speaking. What do you want to do, Sandra? Just like a veteran, she did not throw out a name. She said, I'll do whatever you guys want to do. I don't care, as long as it's not me. And then Tony's like, no, well, we want to hear what you think. And then even when she gave her answer, it wasn't, this person needs to go home. It was more of a suggestion. That's what I'm trying to say. Sandra is really good at making sure everyone feels involved, rather than, at times, especially this season, Tony felt like, Tony's running the show. You either do what Tony wants to do or get out of the way.
Yeah. Again, it's less that she's a leader. She just navigates very well. And Kara, I know I just cut you off. My apologies. I know you had something to say. right? Or am I just tripping?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead, continue.
No,
The world will never know now what
I don't
Karen
know.
had to
I
say.
know that was my thought. Like I had nothing profound. I just say words, dog. That's my job here.
I mean, like I get it, but I feel like Tony is such a wild card that he's going to be a wild card. To expect that from him. So I feel like that's better to keep. I mean, I guess how Sandra plays too, but I feel like that the way Sandra is more scary than how Tony is, and I feel like I'd rather have someone like Tony around than someone like Sandra.
I would have kept Tony, especially for tribe strength too. I hate saying that. Like I understand I am very big on like you need to keep people for puzzle strength too. Like a lot of times I don't think the best way to go about it is just vote out the weakest people because you need smart people in the game as well.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I do think the right thing to do early on in the game is like make sure you have the combined strongest tribe possible, both in wits and strength. And Sandra isn't great at challenges. She's always been a liability when it comes to challenges. So I just think early in the game, I kind of did agree with the guys where it's like, let's keep Tony, keep the tribe strong. You also know what you're going to get with Tony. Like you can say that you can say you can't trust the guy as far as you can throw his bald head, which they kept saying the entire episode. But like he worked with Sarah Lucina in his first season, and they worked really well together. Like Tony is a loyal player.
How'd that end up?
Well, that's what I was getting to, Will. Tony is a loyal player up until like the merge. Then you got to be wary about making the move first on him. But like we're talking the second vote of the game. Tony has proven he is a loyal player until the merge. Then I think once you get to the merge, then you need the focus. Okay, Tony needs to go. But why not keep Tony until the merge?
Because then you're giving Tony momentum. I think Tony with momentum, right? Once he gets his foot in the door, he's a terrifying player. I think Sandra, she worries about just not going out. I think they are both very cutthroat players and will do what they need to. But I feel like if you give Sandra like, hey, I'm with you 100%, she will bend to you. We saw that on Winners at War. She bent to Denise, and that was her undoing. I think Tony is a lot more what's the word I'm looking at? He's a lot more sheltered. He keeps his cards closer to his chest, I feel. And I think, he's made moves on Cagayan where he was very cutthroat. I mean, he, snipped Trish at the final 5. Like that's a crazy move that I think goes underreported. It's a huge blindside. And so I totally get wanting to cut Tony, especially after 2, like freaking everyone out day 1. Like Ciara, he was playing too offensively and not defensively.
Last question on this, Kara. Were you shocked they didn't split the votes, given how often Tony was going and looking for idols? Because they didn't. Aubrey got 2 votes here, but other than that, it was all Tony.
Yeah, no, I guess not. I'm not surprised they didn't split it. And I guess I was just more surprised that Sandra voted Aubrey with Tony.
Yeah, could have been another like 9 or 8 to 1 vote. It would have been. Chris adds in, he was also insanely loyal to Trish. That's what I'm saying. I wasn't going to like add on to my point, but I was like, up until the final 5, he was extremely loyal. That's someone that I want. I want a loyal player until the merge, and then I'll find a loyal goat at that point.
And he'll always be a bigger target.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a great shield.
But he can't be everyone's shield, and that's why he got voted out. That's
I'm gonna say I don't think any of us are going to say that Ciara is going to come back for Survivor 50. Could we see Tony coming back to play a 4th time? Yes. Obviously, the dude is still young enough to. What Winners at War happened 4 years ago?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winners at War was 4 years ago. I don't know exactly his age, but he's still he's 45. That's it.
No, he's 50. He was 45 on Winners at War.
So he's 50 now. say that's if 50 is a legend season and they don't do just like new era, which I know Jeff said he's open to everybody, but we'll just have to wait and see what it actually is. But could Tony come back for a fourth time and try to do something that no person has ever done, and that's win 3 times? And if Tony won 3 times, there would be no argument he's the greatest of all time. I think if he won a third time, he should just literally, they should officially begin a Survivor Hall of Fame in California, like a museum or whatever, and Tony should be the first inductee if he wins for a third time.
I feel like if he comes back, he's not going far. I don't think he'd make it there.
I think we'd get another Game Changers thing where he's going to be there for like 2 episodes, but those is going to be the best 2 episodes we'll ever see, unless he thinks that there's longevity. I mean, I don't think Tony. I think Tony would have the offer. It's just whether or not Tony would want to come back again is the big question, because like he has nothing else to prove.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, too, it's like if he goes out, if he's the first boot on Survivor 50, I don't think that's going to damage his reputation or legacy in Survivor, if that makes sense.
It would be funny. Yeah. The dude either flames out in the first episode or he wins the game. There's no in between. So if he gets past the first episode, he's winning.
I guess it's like, what's the point for him? Like, he already won against all winners. Like, why go up against like?
I mean, you haven't won, you know. He did win against. See, I didn't even think about that. He won a season with all winners. So, like, what more is there? I mean, yes, no one has ever won 3 times. Sandra won twice. We thought we would possibly never see that again. Tony then wins twice.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he would be the only person to win 3 times, which would be very historic. But you are right. He won, unlike Sandra. He won a season of all winners. You literally have the best of the best. So I guess the only other question is not whether or not we'll see him back for 50 or not. Would you guys want to see him back? If you're picking 18 people, is Tony in that 18?
No.
Mm,
you get to decide. You're the casting. You get 18 people. Here's who I want to return. Tony doesn't make the 18 for you, Will?
Nope. I'd call it Fabio. My boy deserves a second chance. No. I think the problem with Tony is that, like, we've seen Tony. And so it's like, if he comes back, I would always accept Tony with open arms. It's just, would he be the first person I would contact? I think if we went the winners route, I think I'd rather see, like, Earl Cole back.
Right? We haven't seen him. Todd Herzog.
You know, also friend of Survivor now. Vesepia, I think. Or Chris from Vanuatu. Shout out to my boy Chris.
Even Chris Underwood. That'd be a redemption.
Chris Underwood,
right
I think, would be a great returnee, because
I mean, it would be cool if he came on screen and literally said in confessional, like, I know what people say about me and I'm here to prove them wrong. It would be like a huge underdog story.
We saw that in Winners at War with Amber. She said it in the final episode, like, I won, but everyone wanted, you know, Rob to win instead, you know. And so, I don't know. I think anytime Tony comes back, it's always a good time. It's just, do I think he would be on, like, the number 1 pick? No. I think it'd be, like, Rick Devens instead, or someone a one-time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we're eventually going to have a whole podcast talking about, like, Survivor. Eventually. We'll plan it out. We've been trying for weeks. But, like, yeah, I agree. Rick Devens is, like, a guarantee. I am starting to feel like Cirie is a guarantee at this point. Like, one more last hurrah, her retirement run. Like, let's try to get this win. It'd be her 5th time playing, I believe. But Kara, wrapping us up here, would Tony be in your 18 or no? Are there other people that you're looking at over someone like Tony, who's already played? He's already won twice.
Yeah, no, there's other people I want to see play again. And I feel like it's time to give other people a chance to come back and play. Like, Tony did it. He won twice. He's been on 3 times now. I think let's see other people come back and play and try it again.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there, like everyone. I'll just put this out there. I know we've gone into Survivor 50 territory now, but everyone wants Amanda Kimmel. Like, if they can get her out of retirement. Oh, well, okay. We're going to talk about that after we go off there. I'm curious about that.
That's fair.
Thank you guys so much for watching. This was our recap of the premiere episode of Survivor Game Changers. I remind you guys, we will be live every week, 9 p.m. So you can sit down with the family right at 8, watch the episode like you usually would, and then come spend the next hour with us as we laugh, break it all down. We had some funny moments here today. This was a lot of fun. This was a really good podcast. And this should take you very close to the premiere of Survivor 47. So if you watch this every week, I think I mapped it out. And I think we're ending like the first, if we do every week, I think it ends like the last week of August or the first week of September is when this would end for us. So it like takes you almost right into the season. So it's literally perfect timing. Will, Carrot, was there anything we didn't talk about today that you just wanted to shout out or anything going on in life, Will, with your band or Carrot with your podcast? Anything else you want to say before we get off air here?
I got my license. So
hey,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Wait, your driver's license?
Yeah, it's technically my provisional, but yeah, no. I actually used my org skills, my survivor skills, because the instructor, he's supposed to ask me questions and quiz me. Like, we drive on the highway and he's like, what sign did we just pass? Instead of him doing that, I had him talk to me about his ex-wife for 20 uncomfortable minutes. It was so bad. And he just opened up and he's like, I'm sorry for like, trauma dumping. And I'm like, it's okay, man. People do it to me all the time. And he's like, yeah, you're that type of guy. And I'm like, it's the orgs, man.
This man is using survivor tactics to pass his ultimate. Eric, anything with you?
Just listen to the Sweet Things podcast. We have new episodes coming out on Thursdays, and that's pretty much it.
And you guys can catch all of us on social media. Just check out our handles, or you can find us on Survivor Now, obviously, at Survivor Now Podcast on Instagram, at Survivor Now Pod on X. Make sure if you enjoyed this, you're listening on Spotify, leave us a rating. It really helps us get the show out there. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. You know what to do. Hit that notification bell so you are made aware anytime we go live, and we will catch you guys next week for more Survivor.